the times we live in right now, divided we fall, and we can have been more divisive these days. But also for the band, I mean, putting the band, all of us back together on the same page, in the same waveform and wavelength. It's, you know, together we're way stronger than we are individually. So there's another twist on that.
The David Ellefson Show. Featuring Grammy Award winner David Ellefson and respected metal journalist Joshua Toomey. Presented by EllefsonEmporium.com. Here is David and Joshua.
Hey, well, dude, welcome to the show, man. You know, it's funny. Last time I saw you was in Ecuador.
Yep.
I was filling in playing bass for Dee Verney in Overkill, and we played together down there. It was a bunch of, we were all, I guess, you guys, Overkill, Anthrax. Ironically, Megadeth was down there. Like, all of us were in South America at the same time. And
I remember that during the elections.
Yeah.
You couldn't buy or drink alcohol.
Oh, in Ecuador?
Yeah, it was because of the elections, and they were shutting down power. And do you remember that?
No, I don't remember any of this. Yeah.
We
were kind of in and out. So fill me in. I missed all this.
So I flew in separately. I live in LA, so I flew in separately, and there was a delay. So I was super late. Just made it, and they sent a caravan of cops and motorcycle police, and they just went through, and I was like, who's behind us? They're like, no, we were with the promoter. I'm like, what? So the promoter had a direct line, and we made it to the gig, but it was an election. I remember it was chaotic. It was the first gig of the South American tour. So there was an election that weekend, and you couldn't buy alcohol. They wouldn't serve alcohol. And I don't remember if there's stuff backstage, but I remember nothing was open, no bars, no restaurants with alcohol. Everything was closed. And because of the elections, they were fearful of, you know, people just getting drunk and protesting. That's from what I hear.
So like the kind of stuff we're just now finally dealing with in America has been going on in these third world countries for like 200 years. Yeah, right.
We've seen it. We've seen it on the writing on the wall. Yeah.
Well, that'll kind of go right into the new record, man. New record, Divided We Fall, out October 17th, and I was listening to it today, and it kind of hit me that, you know, you guys are still kind of singing about the same stuff because nothing has changed. It's like, you know, fuck the rules and fuck authority, and it's, you know, just all the way back to those days, man. It's kind of wild that you can still have the same message, and it's still, you know, 30, 35 years later.
You know, there's a couple things that went on with this record. I remember doing an interview with Jeff Kitts at Guitar World. We were on tour with Slayer. Dave, you remember Jeff?
I do.
We were on tour with Slayer. We were in New York, and Jeff interviewed Carrie and I side by side. Never did that before. Haven't done it since. And he asked a bunch of questions, and he got this one question. He said, "This question's for both of you. I'm going to word it a little different, but it's kind of the same, and I expect different answers." And this is like probably 94, maybe 93. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Billy, when you guys, every new Biohazard record that comes out, it's a little different. It's, you know, it's still Biohazard, but it's a little different." And I'm like, he's like, why is that? I'm like, I'm an artist. I don't want to write the same song over and over again. I kind of try to do something different and try to up the bar and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's cool." And then Carrie, every time I get a new Slayer record, I know it's going to be Slayer. And there's the different sounds and that, but it's Slayer.
Right.
And I looked and I wanted to hear Carrie's answer. And Carrie said, "Yeah, I know what my fans like, and I'm going to give them what they like. It's Slayer."
Right.
I looked at him. I remember as an artist back then and a young, I wish I would have listened and really absorbed what he said. But it resonated over the years, but I didn't listen. I realized every time I put on a Slayer record, it's Slayer. I know what I'm going to get. And there's moments of God Hates Us All or South of Heaven, all these different albums that have there's different sparkles and different moments on the record. But it's always Slayer. It's meat and potatoes. You know when you're going to go to the fucking ball game, you're going to get a hot dog with relish and mustard. That's what I like. That's it. So you could rely on it. And I spent most of my career trying to outright myself and trying to take it a step further. But I think over the years, when you do that, you get away from what you really are and what kind of made you excited, and by you're chasing something else. So we teamed up with Matt Hyde for this record, and we were in my studio here in LA jamming on some songs, and we were locked in a little room, and it was like 8x8 was my vocal booth, but we put the band in there just so we could fucking see what it was like back in the old days. And it sounded awesome. I made this video, sent to Matt. I was all excited about this power of this energy. And I said, yo, Matt, we don't need to fucking step up the production and keep up with the Johnsons. We just need to capture that raw fucking energy. So then we continued writing, and Matt was talking to me about some ideas. And he said, listen, you do Power Flow. I get it. I love it. You do Billy Bio. Great stuff. Love it. But I don't need you to be Billy Biohazard 1990 or 2023 or 24. I need you to be fucking dude from 1993 when you didn't know what you know now. In all those years of like practicing and studying and vocal techniques and ways to preserve my voice so I can sing and scream and do what I do every night on tour. So it kind of sunk in, and I remembered what Carrie said. So everything just seemed to come to a head. And sorry for a long-winded question. Everybody wants a short one, but the reality is I fucking didn't do vocal warm-ups. I didn't do guitar warm-ups. I just went in like I was a young kid in 1993, not knowing what I know now. And Matt helped all of us bring out, bands say this all the time, we went back to our roots. We are the roots. We didn't go back to our roots. We just got rid of all the bullshit that's bringing up all these years. So is it, it's a bookend. It's not a bookend. It can be slipped in right between like Urban Discipline or State of the World Address, the two of our biggest records. And I think because Matt helped us realize, especially for me, don't you invented something that's unique and special. Just be you. That's it. Don't have to try.
Okay, so Billy, I'll go along with you with that, because my career with Megadeth, for instance, just to tit for tat, was probably more similar to yours, right? And so, of course, we grew up with Slayer, right? And they did kind of that one thing, and that's what they did. You know, and you could say maybe Iron Maiden, Slayer, Testament. You know, there's a, you know, in my genre of the heavy, you know, kind of thrashy stuff and power metal, but and it's cool. At the same time, I think probably us, certainly Metallica, even Anthrax, you know, in our world, we knew there was more gas in the tank. In fact, I remember specifically going into the Countdown to Extinction stuff, especially as we got into the 90s, going, okay, look, we did Clash of the Titans. This is as big as thrash metal's ever going to be. It's just not going to be bigger than this. This is it. This is the moment, right? What do we do after this? Do we just go make another thrash record and it stays here? Or do we go make, you know, for us, it became Countdown to Extinction. Metallica made the Black Album. You know, we were pushing the envelope. We were basically charting and rewriting the course, which is what you did, right? You did the same thing. And, you know, at the end of the day, does Slayer win because they just stayed the course? Maybe. I don't know. You know, maybe they did. But, you know, at the same time, I go back and I listen to, you know, got the press release, listen to, you know, Fuck the System. And I think it's cool that you guys had that journey and then you came back to where you are now, because where you are now doing what you kind of did years ago, you're not the same guys, right? We're not the same guys. We're older guys. We've had different experiences. We've gone through the channel, right? And come out the other side. One of the things I notice about you that I love is you've got this really great kind of grungy vintage guitar tone. Like, you know, you, COC, and Toomey, you guys have this really kind of raw, just very organic, you know, guitar tone that I think is such an identifiable part of the sound, right? It's not super high tech, high gain amps and, you know, kind of the modern technology is the recording process part of you know, maintaining that or pushing the envelope as well?
That's funny you bring that up, because so many times we would listen to your records and other records that we looked up to and tried to get tones that we fucking loved. And now I realize you're listening to mixed tones, you're listening to mastered records. It's hard to attain that. And I kind of just gave up and just said, you know what? I am what I am. I play how I play, and I like what I like. So no matter what kind of equipment, and now I'm on quads. I love tube amps. Those are that's my power. But it's more Biohazard. It was when Kiss was my first band. Let me back this up. Kiss was the first band.
Me too. Yeah, me too. Yeah,
loved
Me
them.
too.
Then I stumbled onto punk rock, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. It's not so much about how well you play; it's about how you deliver it and and what you're putting behind it. So that duality of falling in love with all these talented fucking bands that can really play, but also loving the energy and the raw power of punk rock when people knew 3 chords. Dave Mustaine, fucking Rick Rubin had said about us to somebody, Biohazard is a 3-chord thrash band who will never go anywhere. And then we were selling out CBGBs, and somebody gave me a card after the show and said, hey, we want to sit down and talk to you. I'm like, cool. What do you got to say? And he's like, I'm from Chrysalis Records. Chrysalis Records? What the fuck you want with Biohazard? And the guy goes, he goes, you guys are awesome. We want to talk to you. I'm like, how do you know about us? It was a nice, pretty little Christmas, fucking business card. And he said, oh, Rick Rubin sent me. I said, oh, yeah? I gave him back the business card. I said, tell Rick Rubin we're a 3-chord thrash band. Will never go anywhere, and to go fuck himself. So that and a token still gets me on the train.
Yeah.
But I think going back, and you're right, we all have gone through great, crazy experiences, good and bad, ups and downs, all spin arounds. But bringing it back to the real essence of a band, everybody finds that at different moments. And Matt Hyde, I got to say it, he did it. I saw him do it with Slayer. He did it with Deftones, probably a few other bands, but he nailed it with us. And we couldn't have been more happier. But if you guys would have talked to Josh, we talked at the beginning. If you guys would have said, hey, Bill, good luck with putting the guys back together. And I'm like, yeah, let's see. We got 3 shows lined up. And then it was a tour. But if you would have said, in a couple of years, you're going to have a record we're really proud of, and you're going to be talking to me about it with super excitement, I've been like, get the fuck out of here. No way. I'm a pessimist. Dave, we've been through the ringer. We've seen shit happen, and you got to just roll with the punches. I figured there'd be a lot more knockout punches in the past 3 years, and they never came. It was only good vibes and energy, and been kicking ass since.
So, hey, everybody, David and Josh here, and just want to let you know about Rockabilia, our new partners here on the show, and you can visit them and enter David10 for 10% off on any of your purchases. So some cool stuff they have there, Josh.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome company. I mean, if you're of my generation of the, we go to the magazine aisle, and, when it was a print magazine, and, Rockabilia was in every Metal Edge and Metal Maniacs and whatever else, and you would circle every Megadeth t-shirt you wanted, or Metallica or Slayer or whatnot. So super pumped to have Rockabilia on with the David Ellefson Show. And, just a few things. They've got over 500,000 items over at rockabilia.com, including staples like the Master of Puppets shirts, Rest in Peace shirts. They do limited edition exclusive drops each month. And the one thing that they wanted to stress was everything is 100% authentic. No bootlegs over there at rockabilia.com. So that's obviously a plus there too.
Cool. So the money goes where it's supposed to go. So, all right, excellent. All right, so check it out. Rockabilia, David 10 for 10% off. Check it out, rockabilia.com.
Yeah, it's been building. And then look, Evan's back. So again, I had that moment going back to Megadeth in 2010. I didn't think I'd ever be out of it, but one day our band ended, and then it resumed without me, and then I'm back in it. And that's a great feeling, right? Like, I see Guns N' Roses, with Duff and Slash are back. I was talking to the Pantera guys. I said, man, relish this, because I got to have that return back to, you get all the fanfare. We were doing the Rest in Peace album, and you guys now have a new record that's great because you've kind of worked through whatever it is musically. You've been on the road together. You tighten up as a band, right? So what is it like? Because it's, again, original lineup kind of meant thinking, right? It's sort of, you get the OGs back, and with you and Evan, him back in the band, you guys are doing your vocal stuff together. What's talk about that whole experience now?
It is a blessing and it was a great chance to rekindle old friendship. And our old manager, Scott Koenig, I was on the phone with him. I was in the studio working on a new Power Flow record. He called me up. What are you doing? I said, I got this new record coming on. Sendog ended up, it was a horrible situation. Took a long time. He had a heart attack. But in this conversation, Scott Koenig, who was a prominent member in the metal community, he was our manager for years and kind of my confidant over my solo career and with Power Flow. He kept talking about me. He's in the hospital. He's had COVID. He had major health complications. Said he was getting out the next day. We spoke for like an hour and a half. We got off the phone. The last thing he said to me was, hey, do yourself a favor. Bury the hatchet with Evan. Bring him back in the band and put the band back together. And I was like, nah, I did that. I lived that. I moved on. The next morning, I got a call from our buddy Dominic DeLuca, which you guys probably know. And he told me Scott woke up in the morning, had complications, didn't make it. So I was the last buddy that we spoke to. Those words rang in my ears. I bumped into Evan at the Rainbow. It was a memorial for Scott. Tapped him on the shoulder, shook his hand, said I wish it was better circumstances, but it was good to see him. Over the next year, one by one, Paul Gargano reached out to me, all these people, and then Evan called me. I was in Florida producing a band called We All Ray, is a great band. And he called me up on a Zoom and said, what are you doing? The shit you're doing with Sendog's fucking great. You got a solo band now? We hadn't talked in 12 years. And Dave, you know, that's a fucking surprising phone call.
Totally.
He said then he dropped this. Why don't we jam together?
Wow.
So
it came from him.
No, it didn't come. He was trying for a while. And I was just like, nah, not into it. Yeah. Paul Gargano, my manager, fucking kept calling me every day, pushing me into it. I'm like, dude, I got kids. I got two great bands that I fucking love. There's no drama. It's just good vibes and energy. Christian for Fear Factories and Power Flow. So there's all this great stuff. And eventually I was just like, let's just jam and grab dinner and food and hang out like we were kids. Right. And when we did, that's what it was like. So
you bring up a great moment of impact, because this is really the inflection point of all this stuff. You said, yeah, life's good. I don't have any drama, And look, it's great, right? It's not, I'm like that right now, right? No drama. Things are cool. Life's chill. But at what point in some of these bands, and you are in one of those bands with Biohazard, just like I was with Megadeth, it's the tension, the chaos, the whatever it is, that's part of what makes it great. It's part of the yin and the yang. It's part of that. And not that it has to be that at our age now that we got to go back and recreate all this drama, but there's part of that. Guns N' Roses, the same thing. It's like, I feel like years ago it was almost like, okay, what train wreck's going to happen next? Like tune in tomorrow. And now they're just a great rock and roll band. They're grown up guys. They got over their shit apparently, and it's just great, right? It's just great to see it work. But behind all of it, is a story, right? And you guys had a story, and your band was great, not just because everybody was just awesome. There was vibes, there was tension, there was all of that, and that's what made it a great rock and roll band. That is the basis of great rock and roll, is that everything isn't fucking awesome, and that's where the awesomeness lies. You know what I mean? So going back to that, right? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
So I haven't talked about this, but you can relate. In the studio, we were making the record. We were all in a room together, worked with Matt Hyde, and probably almost split up like 3 or 4 times because right. To me, like the best shit, I hate compromise. I'm not into compromise. I'm an extreme idea guy. And if you have an idea, sometimes I don't see the reasoning of that. Give me why do you think I should play A sharp instead of A or whatever? Yeah. That's kind of conversation. And so I will fight to the death for my idea because I have my reasons behind it and why I wrote what I wrote. And sometimes when you don't have that same argument, then fuck it. Sorry, you lose. Compromise in the middle is to make everybody, to appease everybody. And that sucks in art. So tension, you need that tension. The greatest bands in the world and the greatest music have been written with that tension. So first time I've said it, because it's all about, this is the reunion. It's not even reunion. I call it a restart, but it's all about how beautiful and everything's like rose-colored glasses. It's not. But the reality is we went through a bunch of crazy shit making this record and went on tour. I was singing with Matt at 12 noon fucking finished at like at 11 in the morning, finished at like 1 p.m., drove home, got my shit together, and went on tour. Went to LAX and flew out. And my voice was shot. I was done. So the chaos creates such a great breeding ground for awesome music and awesome creativity. And Biohazard thrives in that. People always say, "Oh, did you plan in this?" No. The label was fucking furious because we got a record deal off of a couple demos, and they were like, "Where's the record?" We're like, when it's ready, it's ready. We're just we're a vibe band. We're not a business band. So
I mean, dude, Billy, let's face it. Your band is Biohazard, Megadeth, These are not bands that should be like tame. You know what I mean? It's in the fucking. It's a chemistry class when you put the wrong shit in the beaker and it blows up. That's and that's our fans want that. You know what I mean? That's what they're waiting for. You know.
That's the record's full of that. I think having
that's great.
We cleared the plate. We cleared the plate of all the bullshit, and got rid of any kind of filters. And I said this before. I'm like, it's not like I want to impress the guys in Megadeth or Metallica with my writing, but you kind of want to up and outdo what you did in the past. Once you let go of that. It was like, here's a funny story. Bobby once said to me, and I started piano since I was 6 years old. Music theory, it was something that was ingrained in me as a little kid. Bobby said to me one day, "Hey man, all the shit you write is chromatic. Can you put something in key? It's so fucking hard to play over your riffs." And I'm like, "Why? I like it. That's what I like." And he's like, "Well, can something?" I'm like, "All right, harmonic minors are cool." And so that conversation led to a song called Punishment, which ended up being one of our biggest fucking songs. So sometimes throwing shit against the wall and seeing what sticks, like you said, you're in the lab and you mix two chemicals and it's volatile and explodes, but something great comes out of it. And that kind of focus and experimentation works. Add heart and soul, and then you get something great.
Yeah,
got a question for you, Billy, on the on kind of getting the band back together. Was there a point, obviously you and Evan getting back together, but was there any issues getting Danny and Bobby involved? Had they moved on with music? Were they into doing the band again?
I'm pretty much the only guy who kept doing, releasing music and records. Dave, Fred Aiken Rios is my drummer in both Power Flow and my solo band. But so.
Oh yeah, good. Great. Yeah, Fred's killer, man. Yeah.
So. Josh, no, because Danny and I, our kids are friends. We're great best friends. We talk often. Bobby also. So Evan had quit the band in 2010, I think. And we kept going with another bass player for a couple of years. And so Bobby and I, and then it just fizzled apart. I came home and started the band with Sendog. But so that was easy because we spoke often. What was probably most challenging was everybody getting the relationship back together with Evan. So Bobby had spoken to Evan separately, and I remember I got a call once from Bobby saying, "Yo, fucking Evan called me last night." I'm like, "What? For real?" And then I was the last guy Evan reached out to. Read into that as you may, but it all came together how it had to happen, and getting together on purely just rekindling our friendship and having, hanging out, having dinner together and bullshitting and talking was the catalyst. That had to be real first, Yeah.
When did we first tour together? It was in the 90s, right? Kind of late 90s or something. I think it was right because you were your first record, was it on Epic? I forget. I'm just kind of trying to go back to the history of where we first kind of met and hung and toured.
It was probably we never toured together, but we did numerous shows and festivals and as
the Radio Rock stuff.
Yeah. As big, we are big Megadeth fans. Those records back in the day, I remember the wife of our first manager, Richie Frayne, his wife's best friend was like your assistant manager back in the day, and you guys were doing, I can't remember what record was, but as big fans, you guys are one of the bands where you're like, oh, it'd be fucking great to tour with fucking Megadeth, wouldn't it? And it just never happened. But
well, you know, it's interesting because, like, yeah, probably Cryptic Writings or something like that. It was kind of that, you know, we all had to sort of reinvent for the FM radio rock thing, and doing that whole world of what it was, and I remember because you guys were really kind of owning, in my experience, there's Bad Brains, there's Cro-Mags, there's all that stuff from from the 80s and whatnot, and then you guys come on the scene. It's like, hey, this is kind of like the fresh new version of that, bringing in, and of course SOD and all the cool East Coast hardcore stuff that came in a way that was like fit well with this whole, all bands like us, Metallica, we're all having to kind of do this radio rock reinvention, to still be in the game. But it was I just remember having had some great conversations with Evan too over the years back then, just bumping into each other. And that's why it was funny when I was in South America. I literally go up on the deck in Ecuador, and the first thing I see is you're jumping off the stage and you're in the crowd surfing, doing your thing, and I'm like, fucking, these guys haven't changed a bit, man. This is like still the same as it always was. And of course, being down there with Overkill, they're the East Coast brethren as well. So I felt like there's this great synergy. Like, yeah, man,
it's great.
People don't change. Now. It's cool.
Yeah, it's great to tour now and see and run to people like you and so many other people that we became friends with when we were younger, and now we're a little older, so you pay more attention to the conversations and you care when Dave Ellefson tells you, yeah, this is what I got going on. It's like you feel, all that stuff when we were younger, it doesn't matter. Same thing with Biohazard. That's probably why it worked, because the shit that bothered us back then when we were young is insignificant now. We do definitely, for sure. I don't know where it comes from. You obviously know it's the fountain of youth. We are on stage. You feel like you're 25 again. So for us, it's been super gratifying and rewarding getting to release that energy. I think that that's probably the only reason we do it. There is, the times have changed. Bands used to you sell a record, you made $1.25 a record, or depending on your deal. Right. Now you make 0.003 a spin. So nobody does it for the money. We do it because it's what we love to do and like to do. And it's all about-
I've always said that too, man. It's like, it really is not. I'm busier now than I've been in, years, probably my entire career, just on a multitude of different things. Josh and I were actually talking about this on another podcast about that same thing, about that fountain of youth on stage and being busy in a lot of different records, a lot of different projects, different things. It keeps your ear sharp. It keeps your heart young. It can really you're kind of using all your faculties. And now, again, at a different age, experience is on our side, which is good. But just having that, just the kind of just the love of the game, you know what I mean? And glad to just still be in it. Hey, this Black to Black thing, right? So this is the new label with Frontiers. I know Megadeth's got their new album coming out on that as well. And I know some of the guys, they were part of when we did our records with Sanctuary. When Rod Small would put that deal together, we did a couple records with them, World Needs a Hero and Rude Awakening. But talk about that a little bit, because that's kind of a new path forward for bands of our age, of our pedigree, of our history. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I found that I've always resonated mostly with people from any record label that are fans first, and they don't look at it as a job. They're not, they grew up in the clubs seeing bands, and now they get to work with a label that has great bands. So for me, it was Roadrunner. Roadrunner was the best experience, and having great moments with Warner Brothers and Universal and all these different labels. Roadrunner definitely stands out above everybody else. It was people that worked there were like, yeah, dude, and I get the free tickets to see every fucking band on the label.
Yeah, right.
That was the bonus.
Right.
So Black struck me like that, and we talked to a few of labels, but Andy and Paul brought them to the table. We know a lot of them and have worked with them, Lipsky, over the years. So it just seemed to work. They just vibrated on our same level, and I love that enthusiasm. We almost killed it because it took a long time to put the record together. But in the end, we just ran to the fucking right from playoffs right to the Super Bowl and dropped the record in their lap, and then went on tour. started playing songs live. You mentioned something earlier I wanted to bring up, Dave. Biohazard was a band and still is a band. We are heavily influenced by obviously metal, but hardcore and punk rock. And those influences created something new and special and unique for Biohazard. But when we played with the fucking hardcore bands that we loved, we were too metal or not hardcore enough. And when we played with the metal bands that we loved, we were too hardcore and not metal enough. And we never fit in anywhere. It kind of made us stick out like a redheaded stepchild, but it worked in a small way. And we kind of just dug our own groove. And good or bad, it is what it is. But I'm proud of what we did and stuck to our guns. I remember meeting Metal Maria back in the day, and you guys were in Megaforce for a bit, right?
We were on Combat.
Combat.
Yeah, I mean, that was, you know, Dave had a little experience. Well, I think Johnny Z had a hand in him being fired from Metallica. So there was a little hand in there. But yeah, I mean, like they were the, you know, John and Marcia, they were the brother and sister. They were the founding, they were like the mom and dad, you know, of our genre, you know what I mean? So Metallica, Overkill, Anthrax, and everybody, you know, so, carry on. Metal Maria's, you know, she's our sister, right? You know?
Yeah. So she, we were at Lemoore. She walked up and I reached to give her a demo tape, and she said, "Oh, I have a few of those, honey. It's okay." I was, "Oh yeah." And so she kept on walking to the club, and I looked at Evan. I'm like, "Yo, that's her car." I saw her get out of her car. So we went in, we broke into the car, put the demo tape on her dash, and left it. And she's told us the story numerous times, and she couldn't deny us after that. Mike Gitter hated us, wrote so much shit about us in Kerrang, all these magazines, and he came to see us once we were playing at the Ritz in New York.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think with you guys, I think it was with Overkill, but we played and fucking destroyed it. But Scott Koenig told us before, he said, "Hey, you remember that dude, Mike Gitter?" And I usually don't tell him, but Mike and I are great friends, so we kind of laugh about it. He was like, "He's in the crowd. He's probably going to write that you guys suck tonight. So, you know, just letting you know." Like, oh yeah. So Evan on the mic, he gets on the mic, goes, "Hey, between songs, there's this dude in the crowd." And he goes, "I'm not going to say his name." And I'm like, "Yo, fuck that." I yell at Mike, "Who is it?" And he goes, "His name is Mike Gitter. He's sitting right up there." Everybody turn around. "He's going to write that you guys sucked and we suck tonight." So everybody turn around and let him know how much we fucking suck. He came back wearing a fucking and it's like, yeah, what can I say? You guys won me over. Fucking amazing.
Dude, it's funny with Gitter. I remember sitting at the Parker Meridian, him interviewing me, being like this nervous guy. He was a journalist, you know, or something. I think, right at probably around that same time in the 90s. And then he's with fucking Roadrunner. He signed Megadeth, you know, for Did you guys, were you guys signed to Roadrunner for a while?
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah.
Through Gitter? Did Gitter get you there?
No. So Monty did.
Through Monty. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So we did a deal, and all of our friends from Sepultura to Machine Head, Typo Negative, you guys, all these bands, they signed to the label, and they were like fucking great fucking people, but fuck, they own seven records of our career. We're on this. This is the fucking, you know, we're on it till we die. Biohazard, we did a deal with them because we knew all this shit, and they were really hot to sign the band. We're like, all right, cool, but you get one record. And they never did that before, never did that again. Not only did we do it once, we went back and did it again after we left Warner Brothers and went to Universal. So we dropped a live record, which is a whole other fucking funny story. It was a bootleg record. I caught the dude bootlegging us and threatened the guy, threw him against the wall and said, "You're going to give me the fucking tapes." He gave me the tapes. We went back home, mixed it, and that became the live record that's on Roadrunner. So we did it twice. Yeah.
That's
you know, you were talking earlier about, you know, you were too hardcore for the metal fans, too metal for the hardcore fans, but there's a third level in there that when like Korn and Deftones and all those guys hit, I was a big fan of both, but I was like, I would play my friend's Biohazard, and it was like, I was like, there's like rappy stuff, it's heavy, it's like every element's there, but it's like you guys were almost like too hardcore metal for the new metal crowd.
Yep, that too.
Yeah. So
and so many bands came up after us that kind of honed in on one or two of those and did it fucking well, you know. And you know, I got a T-shirt and respect. That's enough for me.
What do you think about the, obviously with you guys kind of getting back together and all the the groundswell of excitement about that. Obviously your Boys in Life of Agony are out there again, 30th anniversary of Ugly's going on right now. And just kind of like the, people still want Typo Negative, like no matter what version it is or whatnot. So kind of looking back on those early 90s, the New York hardcore scene and kind of seeing in 2025, people are still celebrating that scene.
It's like everything. I mean, it's the Bay Area. It's fucking the birth of thrash metal. All the fucking great bands we love came from there. There's the grunge in Seattle. New York had its own thing, and especially like getting a chance. I think we loved Carnivore. Pete Steele was a fucking awesome fucking musician and a writer. He invited us down. It was the beginning of Biohazard. He said, "Hey, I'm doing something new. I'm doing something new. Why don't you guys come down and listen to my band?"
Yeah.
And we're like, we listened, and it was so fucking slow. They were called Repulsion. And he said, after, he goes, "What do you guys think?" And we're like, "It's really slow. Like, it's so opposite of Carnivore." We're like, what, how are people going to move? Because back then, how the audience moved was how well they received you and liked you.
Right.
And he said, "I don't know, maybe they'll just kill each other." And we're like, "Oh,
okay, hey, so Billy, let's go. One of our things we do here is the Big Four. Josh kind of started this because we're obviously there's Big Four, thrash. There's Big Four, new metal. What would be the Big Four? Obviously, you, Typo,
from New York."
What's of your era? And you're the in my opinion, you're the big dog. I think you and Peter, like you said, you and Typo. And it's funny, before we got on this interview, me and Josh were talking, and both your bands is exactly who I brought up. I was just thinking that same thing. Let's round it out. Who else?
Good question. This is a cool twist on if you were stranded on a desert island and you're going to be 5 records. So
totally.
I would say Typo Negative, sure, and that'd be great if Pete would play, rest in peace, would play Carnivore. I would say if we're honored to be on that bill, it'd be Biohazard, but SOD, it's a toss-up. So many great bands. Agnostic Front, Cro-Mags, the original Cro-Mags, Bad Brains. Sorry, dude, you asked for 5?
Yeah, let's keep going. I'm writing them down.
I'm a huge fan of Life of Agony. Love them. So many great bands, and then that's hard, dude. That's a hard question.
So there's like good 5 or 6. All right, that's good, man. So we got a big 6 going on. It's cool.
Case in point, they're doing a CBGB's fest, I think, this weekend, and we weren't asked for it, so it's proof Biohazard was too metal. Even though we used to sell out CBGBs, that's where we came from. We played our first show in the Lower East Side with Prong, and then the second show was with Ludachrist at CBGB's, and then from there we started headlining and doing our own thing there.
I got to play CBGB's towards the end there, I think 2004, and that room sounded so good. Like for as shitty as a room it is, it just sounded so good in there.
Yeah, it was. I remember hearing, as I went to school for engineering when I was early days of Biohazard, but I remember hearing all the details, how they went and they had it specifically designed. It kind of defies all rules of acoustics. Like it was at an angle, and but they made it work. The stage, it was so weird. The stage was at an angle. And if you look straight off the stage, you look at the right wall.
Right.
But it worked. And they had
the only time I ever went there was me and Dave went there with Michael Alago when Michael was courting us for Electra. I remember like taking ecstasy and going to CBGB's and playing pool and just going, all right, this is a fucking weird moment right here. But I remember the place was a dump. I mean, it was such a toilet. Did it remain like that when you were playing there? I assume it did.
Oh, yeah. Never changed. Yeah. The toilet downstairs, there was no walls or doors. It was just, you were raised up 6 inches so everybody could see you shit while they pissed.
Yeah.
It was a
truly on a throne. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fucking awesome. Well, I missed that part.
But you guys had that up in the Bay Area, and there's so many great spots.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we had the Stone, we had Mabuhay Gardens, which was really kind of more of the punk rock place. I think that was kind of more like the Dead Kennedys, or that was kind of their stomping grounds. The Stone, the Berkeley Keystone, there was Ruthie's. You're right. There's, I talk about this a lot that those, where you guys had Lemoria and CBGB, you had your thing, and how the whiskey is really just one of these last bastions of great rock and roll venues. And it was not where Megadeth started. In fact, I remember when I met Dave, first thing he said is, we're not playing any clubs in the LA Strip. And I just moved from Minnesota thinking, this is where it all happens. The Starwood had just burned down, so that was gone. But there was the Whiskey, but all those clubs, they were doing that shitty Hollywood thing where they were basically making bands pay to play on their stage. And that wasn't the case in the Bay Area. I don't think that was the case for you guys, right? You guys didn't have to do the pay to play thing out in the East, did you?
No, Lemore's is owned by these fucking Italian ginzos. One of them just passed away, the Parenti brothers, who they would do this scam where we would hand out, and I was the fucking slave driver who figured out all the math behind it and printed everything and made everybody go out to other shows, hand out passes, little flyers. So I do 4 to a sheet in little Biohazard flyers, and we're actually using that style of artwork now for this new tour.
Nice.
These dudes, you got paid a buck a pass, and I think it was like $2 off with the pass. And if you gave the pass, it gave you $1, and that's how you got paid. But we would figure out to bring in like 100 people, you had to hand out 1,000 passes. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So, and then eventually, the first there was 4 people in the crowd, and those are our girlfriends, so they didn't really count. They had to be there. Then it was 8 and then 16, and it kept multiplying. But those dudes, I remember selling it out, and those guys saying, "Yeah, you brought in 300 people." Like, what? It's fucking sold out. Yeah, they were here. They were going to come anyways, and you had to eat.
There's no beating the system. Yeah. Oh God. Man.
So with the new tour, obviously you guys and Onyx going out together, I think that's an amazing package, especially if you're a Biohazard fan, kind of getting the Judgment Night. And, I'm sure you're going to do your version of Slam with them, things like that. So kind of talk about taking Onyx out on tour.
Yeah. So we were in Ireland, and first of all, we did a couple songs. We did a song called Slam. It was a remix I did, and that became, we formed a friendship out of that. And then we did the soundtrack, title track for Judgment Night. Shitty movie, amazing soundtrack. And it was Happy Walters put that together. It was a collaboration between predominantly rock and metal artists and hip hop artists. Great, groundbreaking record. We never toured together, never played, and we were friends. And it just didn't seem to sync up. Don't know why, but we were on tour last spring in Europe, in Ireland. We get off stage before the last couple of songs, towel off, getting water. And the Honest guys roll up all loud in New York. And we're like, "Yo, what's up?" They're like, "Yeah, let's do a song." We're like, "What song? What?" We never fucking jammed anything. So they're like, "Just figure it out." We're like, all right. We went on stage, unrehearsed, unprepared. And then the kids fucking blasted out on social media. It got this great response. I'm like, let's do a fucking tour. And it took us a little bit to make it happen. But now we're heading out in October. We'll be in LA at the Bellwether October 12th. New York, we're doing a record release party on October 17th at Rough Trade. We're playing Warsaw at the end of the month in New York and Brooklyn, our hometown. Boston, it's a great tour. Also with Bayway, an up-and-coming new band from Jersey, and our friends in Swollen Teeth. So it's a killer tour. We're looking forward to it. And yes, we'll be playing a bunch of songs with Onyx.
That's fucking cool, man. That's good. Well, hey, Billy, it was great to chat with you, dude. We'll let you go here. This is awesome, man, and just super, really happy for you guys, man, that everything's coming together and the new record. I love the Fuck the System videos, fucking killer. And I love how you do the Fuck the System, and then, then there's a break. Is it right up to the chorus where it's divided we fall? I love that because, we did that with Cryptic Writings. That's just a line out of a song. I like when albums are named after like just a line, right? You're like, where did they get the title of this? So I thought that was very clever. I thought that was super cool. I
remember I suggested, I'm like, let's just call the song Divided We Fall. It didn't stick, and we decided the record, it's timely. There's a twist. The times we live in right now, Divided We Fall, and we couldn't have been more divisive these days. But also for the band, putting the band, all of us back together on the same page in the same waveform and wavelength. It's, together we're way stronger than we are individually. So there's another twist on that.
No, it's super good, man. Well, dude, it's good to see you. Like I said, last time I saw you, you were out in the crowd, crowd surfing with your guitar.
I think the last time I saw him, he was out in the crowd. So yeah,
that's just where you hang out. That's where you go.
That's going to be my funeral procession. I want my coffin to be carried over like
there you go.
Done. We got it. All right,
Thanks,
good.
guys. Great to talk
All
to
right,
you.
brother.
Thank you,
Good
Billy.
to see you, man. Yep. See you, buddy. Bye.